that. And then also I'm going to throw on the captions. Because that I found out that if you record in Zoom and you turn on the captions, it'll give you that file. And then if you upload it to YouTube, you can upload that caption file and then it'll add the subtitles into YouTube. So for those of you all that didn't know that, it's a little hack. All right. It says I'm sharing screen. So are you all seeing this week 6 engaging course design intro?
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect. So we're moving right along here in our course. Last week, who was here last week? It was Kelly, you were
I was
here,
there. Yeah.
and
I think Don was too.
possibly Don. Last
That was
week
here
we
last week.
had Luke Ruiz come in from the Mosaic Center to give us a primer on inclusive, no, it was bias. Implicit bias. That's what it was. Implicit bias. Um, so that was a nice time with him, and I thought he ran that meeting pretty well. Um, I liked his activities. So, um,
Excuse me.
yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I thought I've been present at all of these and I don't remember that happening.
It was last week at 1 p.m.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've been here every week. I
Hmm.
mean,
You don't remember Luke telling us about implicit bias and like we had to finish the he would give us like words and then we would have to finish it. It would be like peanut.
no. Okay, something's happening.
Maybe
Oh,
it's the because the AI Institute was the same day.
that might have been it. You might be mixing them.
Oh, yeah, thank you for reminding me because I thought you canceled this class. Oh,
Oh,
so
I
I
did.
didn't come.
Oh, I think maybe we
Where?
ended
I'm
up
crying.
canceling the AI task force.
Okay, well, I boo-booed.
It's all good. It's recorded, so even
Okay,
though you won't be
all
able to
right.
participate, but
All right, thank you. I just thought I was losing my mind.
no, I thank you, Don. Don is
Okay,
right. I think it
not
was
okay.
because it was the
You
AI Institute,
are.
and right when it finished, it was this, and then by the time it was AI task force, I don't think I could have survived. So
I
Oh,
think
I
you
thought,
should
yeah.
give her the secret code
Yes,
for
please.
last week.
Thank you, Kelly. That's so sweet of you.
You're welcome.
I'm ready right now if you remember what it is.
I'm sure you are. Talk to me afterwards, and
Okay.
we'll see what we can do for you
Thanks,
guys.
Kelly, though.
Okay,
You're
so
welcome.
but anyways, for last week, just since we're talking about it, we had a couple of indicators. So his main focus was, like I said, on implicit bias, which is related to this one here. Course materials include positive representations reflecting multiple identities, communities, and perspectives. 1.2b, course materials identify areas of human, oh yeah, this was it. Human bias within the course. And then 1.2c was lack of representation. Now I wanted to have somebody come in from diversity committee, but she was too busy today. I was trying to get Shelly Sledge in here to tell us about, we had a question 2 weeks ago about if we're adding in course materials that feature a bunch of different looking people. And then what happens when you go into the job, the student goes into the job and then it doesn't look like that. It is kind of that traditional look and feel. So I I think she said if she can't make it today, then she might be able to come on the 30th. So our last meeting before summer quarter ends, or before the summer break. So maybe we can talk about it more at that time if it's something that people are still curious about. If I'm going in and I'm looking at some examples here from this week, if y'all need some examples of what you can do for each of these assignments. So this one here, review and replace images, variety of viewpoints, representative content. I'll go ahead and put this in the chat if y'all want to go through and read what those are. But if you go into the week 5 outro, there is a link to the ePortfolio, and Derek once again has put his here for us to check out. So if you click on his, I'll go ahead and send the link out to that one as well if you want to look at what Derek's up to. Yes, you're right, Kelly. That video was great. And that video is part of the video, the Zoom recording. So just a reminder, if you aren't able to make it live, if you go into, so for example, last week was week 5. So if you go into the intro, the same one that's the quiz, if you go into Zoom, you can find that recording here, and you're talking about this video, which
I somehow know that if you say peanut butter, I'm going to say jelly. That's an association that's been ingrained in me because throughout my life, peanut butter and jelly are together. And in many...
Okay, so make sure you watch that if you're interested in learning more about implicit bias. But that is for last week. You know what, Don, we just found out at Trader Joe's they have peanut butter and honey like in the one jar.
No way.
Yeah,
Trader
And it's-
Joe's?
I love it. Trader Joe's in the peanut butter section. Okay, let's get back to what we're working on here. Week 6. Oh, no, I wanted to go over Derek's submissions. So if you want to read his reflection, he's put that up there for us. But then also here, so positive representation, basically what he wrote about was the variety of viewpoints method. And so if you come in here, variety of viewpoints, add a variety of viewpoints and perspectives to your course by including content by 3 or more authors. He talks about watching a video on the wetlands where you hear from different perspectives, scientists, farmers, politicians, and other members of the community. So that's a good example of something to show positive representation. And then he also talks about having student contributions. So that was a pretty good submission. This one talking about human bias, he gives an example of being gypped. Does anybody ever say like, oh, I was trying to get something. He uses the example, I was trying to get something from the vending machine, but I got gypped. I don't know if it's that common anymore, but I feel like I used to use that one. But that one, similar to being Jude, is
Yeah,
not.
that just really rubs me the wrong way. I don't even like to hear you say it.
Yeah, I don't like saying it. I was reading what he was saying here, but I think that is are some good examples here of, let's see, this one reflecting on language and behavior. So what are some things that you say that maybe you're I don't know. I've heard both sides, but I try not to say you guys too much. What's y'all's stance on you guys? So like, did you see I've changed it. Instead of saying you guys all the time, I say you all or y'all. What's y'all's? stance, y'all. Yeah, I know. I run the risk of
Yeah, y'all's not really.
sounding
good.
sounding like I'm from Texas, but I do
Or
this
I'm
one.
just the South, which I think is the same kind of not appropriate,
But
especially if you're not from the South.
you like if I'm addressing you all,
Yeah, I guess it's just
would
doesn't
you
seem.
prefer if I say you all or you guys? I feel like we're not all guys in here.
Yeah, I don't care about that.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't care about it either, but I think there are some people that do. So I've tried, but it's tough. It's tough to break that habit. And then this one here, 1.2C. Oh, this was talking about how in um, science, the sciences, it's mostly old white guys who are making all the important scientific discoveries, but obviously it's not. There's more people from all types of backgrounds that are doing stuff that are important for science. And he gives the example of Rosalind Franklin, which I feel like we've talked about this person before. Chemist and X-ray crystallographer. It's a cool word, crystallographer. It might have to be the secret word today. We'll see. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into what we're going to talk about today, though. So this is wait, before we go into week 6, is there anything anybody wanted to talk about week 5 or even week 4 because they're kind of related here? Right. If anybody has anything to say, just raise your hand or hop off mute. There's not too many people in here right now. And yeah, let's go ahead and move on. Now we're gonna move on into engaging course design. And who better to talk about engaging course design than no, I was gonna pass it off to James, but I know he's just in here to support. Let's go into our week 6 intro and start going from there. So Simon says this week, secure the wooden beams onto the foundation to support diverse student needs. That's happening. Our weekly outcome this week, develop and implement communication plans and course design strategies. We're moving more specifically into course design, which is something that I am really into, that enhances student engagement. That's probably what it is. Student engagement. I'll copy that for later. Our CPTC connection this week is technological literacy. And I think most of the people in here are pretty technologically literate. So I don't think there's much to talk about here. But for the students, these are some considerations that we should have for them. This is how it breaks down in our CWLOs. Recognize industrial needs as well as the cultural and socio-economical barriers to accessing and using appropriate technology with confidence. Okay. We've got our relation here to building at the bottom, sourcing high quality, diverse materials. Applying and analyzing applied principles of cultural humility that challenge assumptions in the selection and use of modern electronic and industrial devices to accomplish tasks in today's workplace. And evaluating and creating culturally responsive, social, economically, and environmentally sustainable products, systems, and/or services with relevant technology skills that have been critically evaluated for equitable impact. I feel like this is something that we are doing in the this is something that we're doing in the IT. Is it what's the committee? Is it information technology? instructional technology. Somebody help me out here. I know there's some other people that are in that committee, not committee. Yeah, committee. We met yesterday. What is it called? I don't know. I know it's IT, but it's not
Instructional Technology Committee.
okay, that's what I thought. Instructional Technology Committee. This is something that we're I know over the past year looking at different programs, products, systems that we were critically evaluating them. All right, hold on. We'll talk about that in a second, Kat. We were critically evaluating whether it's okay to use Discord. Wasn't that a big focus of that committee for a while?
Yes.
A couple year focus.
A couple of years? Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, it went, well, yeah.
Okay, we don't need to bring it up again. But okay, so hold on. Kat's got an interesting thing that she's saying here. Relevant technology skills. Where's that part? Oh, this one? Oh, not appropriate. Oh, it's in the one I'm looking at. Relevant technology skills. That is quite broad. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add to that, or just that?
No, just that can be defined differently in everybody's minds, that it can be a term that can broadly be defined and so inappropriately being assessed.
That's a good point.
So couldn't you say relevant technology skills towards whatever industry it is, cybersecurity or nursing or any one of those?
I still feel like it's what's relevant to you
Yeah.
might be different than to another person.
And then technology changes so fast, as we know with AI,
Yeah.
that that relevant could change very quickly.
Yeah.
Things can be irrelevant very quickly. So why is this CWLO so important? Bridging the digital divide. I mean, obviously that's an analogy right there with building something. So helping people who are not familiar with technology become more familiar with technology. Actually, this is one of the big things that we're working on right now in the IT committee. Problem solving. I would say technology helps with that. Could help with that. Help solve some problems. Ethical technology use, that's something that was big from the AI Institute on the ethics track. I feel like there were a lot of people that were talking about when it's okay to use, when it's not okay to use. Oh, Ken's here. I know you all talked about that last week in the roundtable discussion with Claire and them. Ethical use. Adapting to rapid technological advances. That's what Kelly just brought up. Technology is changing, evolving. And so trying to stay on top of that. Sustainability, that's one of our letters in, or one of the words in the CARES. Our last letter is sustainability. So sustainability using, I would say becoming familiar with the technology that will be used in the future is a sustainable effort. So learning about AI, learning how it's used, how you can use it in your class, that's something sustainable. Digital collaboration. Does anybody do, I guess a lot of people in here are in kind of technology fields, so maybe you do digital collaboration a lot, but does anybody have an example of some digital collaboration that you've done in your classes? Chai?
Do you mean, well, my interpretation for my interior design students would be that I am teaching them how to use the software between all the other softwares. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm,
So, you know,
connecting
they're
the
taking, yeah, so they're creating presentations, but they might be using Photoshop to do one act, AutoCAD to do another, and then bring it into the same software. So just trying to show the workflow, because when we teach the independent software, which we do also do, we want to focus on how they work together. So that I'm like, for me, that's digital collaboration, but I'm sure there's another intention to that. So
I don't think there's anything wrong with what you said. Yeah, I think I would almost call it like a digital fluency, where it's like you're learning all the skills from the different programs and how they can kind of
I think that's really important, because I see, yeah, my students, some of them don't even, you know, they don't really even understand what a PDF is. And somehow I thought that this would be handled before they got to me, but it's not. So there you go.
Well, yeah, I think it's important for students to be able to do this, and I also think it's important for the faculty. Like I said, a lot of y'all are in technological related fields, but I heard a story of a faculty member that the student just wanted to submit the assignment into Canvas, but they were requiring that student to print it off and then fill it out by hand, which goes into a whole nother thing of like, you know, maybe they're trying to do it because it's anti-AI, right? You can't well, I guess you can still like get something in AI and write it down. But anyways, for the purpose of this story, that was not the case. This was just they had it this way where they wanted the paper every time. And it was uncomfortable for the student. They were like, I don't have a printer at my house. Um, I I guess they could have went to the library, but I think someone said, you know, you should go to the library, and they said maybe they didn't understand that the school library has a printer that you can use, but they were saying like, oh, that's gonna cost gas money to go to the library, you know, like off campus and print it and bring it back. And so I think embracing the technology, especially Canvas, I think most of y'all are pretty familiar with Canvas, but for anybody else that's watching that's a little hesitant, I think this is something that, as a technical college, we should be trying to make sure we are, you know, on the right level for technological things, and then also bringing our students up to that level as well. Digital misinformation, I mean, like what a time to be alive for this one. Like I feel like in the next couple months it's going to be really hard to discern what's real and what's not. Kat, do you have something to add to that?
Nope. Roller coaster ride. That's all.
Yeah, strap in, everybody. Let's make sure we know what's real and what's not. And obviously, yeah, lifelong learning. That's something that we want to inspire our students to do, to be lifelong learners, and to you know, go with the flow wherever that goes. Our alignment this week, so obviously technological literacy, we're analyzing how we use technology and how we use technology with our students. We should be creating, evaluating, or modifying our curriculum. And our new outcome for this and the next couple of weeks will be engaging course design. So, that was technological literacy. Does anybody else want to talk about anything related to that? I'll take the silence as it's time to move on. So actually, okay, we have engaging course design standard 1.3. I'm going to put this one in the chat, and I'm going to give you all a second to read this by yourself. If you want to kind of get a quick overview, you can go through this little slideshow. But then if not, you can come and read this down here. And then here's a story about Sasha, I think, because it's always good to get from the student's perspective. So let me give you all a minute or two to read all of that stuff. All right. I think that is enough time. And we're going to go ahead and move into this. We're going to look at the assignment. And then, is there an example of this one? Oh, yeah, because this one is a reflection. So,
See if I can spell that correctly.
it's hard. It's just 2 words, but into one. Compound word? All right. So reflection this week, again, I know we just did one for week 4, but this is a new standard about engaging course design. What we'll do here, I'm thinking we could look at these questions and maybe talk about them together as a group. And then, yeah, here's an example. We've got alignment for this one as well, and then some resources about active learning. So I say we just go ahead and get into this one. Which one were you talking about, Jaya? Course design?
Yes, we are, we have a bachelor's. Well, I don't need to get into the deep, but yes, we were talking about reevaluating our BAS courses for additional ways to provide student engagement with each other and with ourselves. So yeah, we're actually creating a survey right now for our students. So yes, we're working on it. I'll get back to you and see how it works. We want to get, we need some answers from them.
Then send me a copy of the survey and I'll
Will
I
do.
know I'm not going to be able to answer a lot from the student's perspective, but I'm always interested in seeing what
Yeah. We'll put it
survey
together and we'll let you know.
cool.
We'll
Sounds
follow
good.
up. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. So I don't know. I feel like there's more people are more willing to share when you're in a smaller group. I mean, we got a pretty small group here, but do y'all want to go into breakout rooms and talk about these questions, or do you all want to talk about them here in the main room?
I say no to the breakout.
No to
Main
breakouts.
room. Let's stay in the main room.
All
Yep.
right. Let's keep it simple. We don't need to complicate it. All right. So how do you plan to interact and communicate with students as a class and as individuals? I don't know why it says how do you plan. We're all faculty members here. We do interactions and communication with our students every day. But some things that we can think about related to this question, the methods and frequency of communication, like how often we're in there, like lecturing in front of the students, or if we're in there, I guess the comparison would be like the sage on the stage where the person's going and they're saying everything, more of a like a guide on the side where they're over on the side, kind of letting the students do what they want to do and then coming in and helping. I guess we could just use that here, right? Would you say y'all's classes are more sage on the stage or guide on the side?
I think ours, if you're asking that question, is we are the guide on the side, but we still have to present the material, show them, then we step back, let them do it. And what I found is I get a lot more time with my students and one-on-one, and that seems to help a lot. I give them time to come. I schedule it with them, or they can come to me as needed. The one, well, we'll get to that. Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, that's good for now. Yeah, I like that. You're talking about, which I think is very standard, is where you have something that everybody needs to know, right? You're going to present some sort of, today we're going to work on this.
Correct.
This is how you do it, and then you give them that chance to practice, and then by the end they should be making something or producing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's kind of a standard thing here.
Well, considering we're a tech school, that seems to be the best way for us to get the students through.
Right. It's just
And
to
that's-
have them do it.
Yeah, we get a lot of students from, not putting down any other school, but they'll come in and say, we were handed a book instead of computers there, or go home and work on it. And let me know if you need anything. And they can do that on their own. That's not what they're paying for,
Right. Yeah, that is right. That's a good point. Thank you, Kelly, for sharing. Anybody else want to talk about your kind of interaction patterns or classroom flow? I try to do, like, if I were to say, if 100% of my class time, so if it's an hour or 2 hours, I try to dedicate like 15% to the instruction at the bottom, and then probably 35% to practice, and then the rest of the time will be for working on some sort of project. Which I like our school because a lot of that stuff is project based. A lot of what y'all teach is project based. And I feel like that's the best way for students to learn, plus active learning. Okay, if nobody else wants to talk about that, how do your course design choices engage students in the learning experience? So, yeah, project based. Thank you, James. Do you well, let me ask you this one. What do you feel like you do in your class that engages the students?
Offer choices
Okay.
so they can align with what they can make a choice and still have the same outcome.
So, would you say similar to how in this course there are multiple options for completing the indicators?
Yeah.
And to model it here, let me show you also. Yeah, that's universal design for learning right there. If anybody's ever heard of UDL, it's giving multiple ways. So if I say for this one, course includes a clear explanation describing the instructor's plan for engaging and regular and substantive interaction with students, then these are some ways that you can do it. You can outline a communication plan, review communication tools, create a welcome video, an FAQ page, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's always nice. A little bit hard. I mean, like if you think about it, you have to think about the multiple ways that students can do things so that the outcome is reached. I feel like giving
Creates more work.
examples, yeah, it's more work. It is more work. But that's where something like generative AI might come in handy, where you say, here is my assignment, here's how I do my assignment, here's what I want my students to do. You know, here's how my students have completed the assignment in the past. What are 10 other options for them to do to reach this outcome, but by different means? All right. Anybody else want to talk about some course design choices that you've made that engage the students?
All right, I'm piping in.
Yeah, go ahead.
No one had a hand up, so I'm trying to be
It's all you, Jaya.
respectful. Okay. Well, we, in interior design, again, we are all project based. So all of our assignments are like that, which is great. And so I usually just introduce the assignment to the class, give them the supporting information, and then I work individually with my students every class. So I'm, darting around the room to be sure that they get attention. But I give the students choices, and Julie does too, on the project type that they do. I mean, we can't really give them, we don't have a lot of variability in our outcomes, as far as the presentation goes, but we at least give them a choice on the project type, and, so they can feel creative and in control of some aspect of the work that they're doing.
Sure. Yeah. And you say, we don't give them a chance to change the outcome, but I think keeping the outcome the same for everyone, like this is what the outcome is, but
Okay, I meant the deliverable.
Yeah, the deliverable, but you know what I mean, like
Yes.
it's kind of the semantics, but deliverable, whatever they need to finish at the end, they can do it whatever way they want, and the output hopefully is unique to each of the individuals. But giving a presentation on your product, that outcome is, that I feel like that doesn't need to be individualized. Like the method and what the final product looks like, those are the things that I feel could be personalized for the students. But sounds like you got a good thing going on there, Jaya. Let's move on to the next one here. Strategies. What strategies do you use to ensure regular and meaningful feedback for your students? So, how often do you give them feedback? Do you give them, there's a couple different kinds of feedback. There's the summative quiz, final exam kind of feedback, where they're like really kind of testing their knowledge. And then there's the feedback that you would give in the class that's, not so high stakes, right? You're like, oh, you made a mistake here. That's okay. How are you going to fix it? Like, what's y'all's feedback mechanisms in your classroom?
So I know in IT, again,
Yeah, go ahead.
they have to get to a certain point, and then, like we monitor that and watch them. If they struggle and they can't get to that point, that's our opportunity to step in and assist them. But they have a goal to get to. When they get to that goal, we give them feedback, then they go to the next goal. And maybe that goal is to build a mail server, but there's steps involved. So you give them feedback after, 3-4 steps when they get to the next point. Stop,
Yeah, so you're kind of steering it as they're going, and they're kind of headed this direction a little bit. You kind of pop them back onto the main.
Correct.
Mhm.
Yeah. And IT, it's hard. they either can do it or they can't do it. There's not a lot of middle ground with what we teach.
Which I think makes it easier for you and also for the student, right? Like
Yeah.
there's no this kind of the binary, right? Like it's either
Yep.
done or not done. There's a lot of subjectivity in
Correct.
other kind of fields and that kind of stuff where it's like,
One of the things too that I'd like to point out is and I mean, it's just the way it is. When students aren't funded or they don't get their funding till quite a bit later into the program, so some of the work they can't do, or they have to do it later in the quarter. It's hard to give feedback at that point when they're waiting on their funding to come in. And we try to come up with alternatives for them to work on. But it does create a realistic issue.
yeah. Yeah, that's a tricky one that's kind of out of our hands,
I
right?
know. I didn't want to bring it up.
Yeah, well, it's the elephant in the room, I guess. Yeah, that's a tricky part, and hopefully, whoever is in charge of that can figure that out. But for this, in the sake of this conversation, I'm gonna move on to the next one. And actually, I realized I made a mistake earlier by not stopping the share on my screen. So I'm gonna give y'all another chance here for this. If you didn't catch it earlier, if it was too small, and hopefully you can read my handwriting. Okay,
Is that a capital first letter?
it is not. They are all small.
Are you kidding me?
Sorry.
Okay.
So to kind of,
I put it
think-
in as small and I marked it wrong.
yeah,
I put it in as large and it.
I had to put an uppercase S.
Oh, it is
Yep.
uppercase?
Yep.
Yes.
Ooh.
Because you
Oh,
told us
okay.
last week, I think it was always going to be lowercase.
All right. Sorry. So big S. Kat, did you have something that you wanted to say? Or just
oh, the same thing. It's
big
funny
S.
because, and I don't mean, going off of what Kelly was mentioning, I'm just thinking back to something that happened today. So, reiterating, so basically how that affects our class, can have tied to what the grade and the feedback is, right?
Mhm.
So a message I just sent out, but a message I discussed with the students before, but just kind of reaffirming it with the message, was I removed the dates from my assignments, the due dates, because when they come due and they haven't done them, they're zero. They grade as zero. And then the student then becomes not like, if it's funding that's out of their control, they get stressing, they start having anxiety, they start going downhill, and then they think that they can't catch up.
Yeah, they
And
panic.
so so I just wanted to be clear to them that I'm going to remove those dates, but everything, as we discussed, is going to be due by this date to allow you guys time. But what that means for the feedback in the course aspect is that you're going to have to take an extra step of responsibility and look on your report side, because at the end of the quarter, they will all convert to zeros.
Oh,
For anything missing. So there's a way that they can go and they can check both on Canvas and otherwise what they're missing.
mhm.
But had I put a date on it, it would have graded it as zero at that
Yeah,
particular
that's the
time.
tricky part with adding in the dates, because for some people it's like, oh, this is good accountability, and like it's, this is due by this day, so I'm gonna have to try to get it done by this day. But yeah, if they miss it, then the zero is kind of tricky.
On a
Jaya, did you
normal-
have something
On a normal
you wanted
quarter,
to say?
yeah.
Or sorry, Kat, were you not done?
Oh no, I'm done. Yep.
No, okay. Sorry. Jaya, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm blabbing a lot today. But it's interesting, Kat, because I use that, I do put my dates in, and I don't always grade, the day it's due. I never grade the day it's due because it's due at midnight. So usually if I'm starting the next day to grade or a few days later, then once I start grading and their work is not submitted by the due date, I purposely put a 0 in their spot so they know that I've been through and I've been grading, because otherwise it doesn't show a 0, it just is blank until they put the assignment through. So it does wake them up, because then they can see like, what I get a 0 in. Otherwise, they might not, they might just think I haven't graded it yet, or that they, wait, that didn't make sense, did it? Anyway, the point is I use it as a wake-up call. And I realize that it does cause stress, but I don't intend to do that. I just want them to recognize that I've already graded the work for the rest of the class, and theirs is not here yet. So
Mhm.
Yeah, and no, I totally get that too, because that would be something I'd normally do for normal assignments, but there are some other types of assignments that get graded automatically when they're done.
Right.
The automatically graded assignments
Good point.
is what happens. I mean, like, that's one aspect, and it's good for them to know what they can catch up on and what they need to catch up on. But I think it's probably a setting I set a while ago so that they are accountable to it. But I have the panic on their for 20 students that are really kind of on top of things normally and have no control when it comes to the funding aspect. Then will either drop out of the class,
Mhm.
or they will not show up anymore.
Mhm.
So and there's so many assignments,
And they're brand new students, their
And they're-
first quarter.
yeah. So I mean,
Right.
on the ones that they know I've graded, I communicate with them all of that, but there are several different labs that they have to complete every week that's outlined in the syllabus and everything. But ultimately in Canvas, the technical aspect is if they reach that due date, it will count them as a 0. And so it'll fail them on their overall grade.
I see. Thank you for explaining that to me. It's so interesting, and we all have such different programs, and it's fascinating. So thank you for waking me
No.
up to that. Just
Thank
like
you. I agree.
the quizzes too, because I've noticed, just like we were talking about cap and uppercase, if I put an answer in and I use lowercase and the students put an uppercase, then they're marked incorrect, and then they do freak out. So on those quizzes, I have to tell them, immediately, if this is their first online quiz, this is what happened. So I have to wait to answer your more subjective, responses. And then sometimes, it really only is good for like true or false. I feel like Canvas is only good for quizzes, true or
Mhm.
false.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's
it's
my,
limited. You're
Yeah.
right.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Well, that was wonderful. And your interaction is the whole purpose that I think this Friday meeting exists. So I want to thank you all for contributing. And yeah, I love hearing everybody's different perspectives on it. And I think it's important for you all who haven't thought about this stuff, like Kat saying, "Oh, I have to, take the due dates off," or Jaya's like, "I'm putting due dates in because I want the students to know, like, I need to give them a wake up call." It's that kind of, you know, uh, what's the word for, where you're doing it on purpose. Like it's very thoughtful. You found kind of an issue with your students.
Intentional.
Yeah, intentional. Thank you. That's exactly what it is. It's very intentional. And I'm going to segue that back to this list of questions here. I'm going to start wrapping it up because we got about 5 minutes till the hour, and I'd like to start finishing before the hour. So our assignment for this week is to continue this reflection. So some of y'all have already reflected on some of these things today. If y'all can put that down in typing, and then also look at some of the other questions here, incorporating technology and innovative practices that relates to that college-wide learning outcome, accommodating diverse learning preferences. So maybe I hope y'all are, as you're telling them about these these assignments, and if there's ever a chance for them to get a 0, letting them know, like, all right, the date's here, I'm gonna give you a 0, but that's just to like let you know, like, I've checked everybody else's, and now you gotta start getting the work done. And
I
yeah, go
do
ahead.
change the grade.
Yes, of course.
Once they upload the
You
assignment.
let them know that, right? You
Yes,
tell them,
yes.
I'm going to give you a 0 now
Yes,
because I've gone through
yes.
everything, but I will adjust it. And
Yeah, I
so,
didn't want you to think that I torture my students.
no,
like
no, no, no. I would
Yeah.
never think that. But the communication, that goes back to the communication and the importance of the way that you communicate, and then the way that you engage with your students, and then the way that your students become engaged with your class. So stick around after. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the share and open it up for questions. But if anybody, if you don't have any questions, this is the end of this time. And y'all can go back and do whatever you want. And hopefully we'll see you again next week.
Thanks, Ron.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
I got a quick question. Is this going to be open during